everyone, it's Quicken, and today is an episode of our favorite public record. And I wanted to do an episode all about tattoos that I forget that I have. And this was kind of a request for a 5-Pack Friday, but I wanted to turn it into something a little different and something a little more relatable. Maybe if you're out there and you're a tattooed person and you've been tattooed for a couple years, you might know what I'm talking about. And it's those little tattoos that maybe you kind of get on a whim, or you got so long ago, or it's somewhere that you never see that you forgot that you had them. So I'm going to share 3 tattoos today that I sometimes overlook and forget that I have. And I invite all of you to share your experiences as well. And if you're not tattooed, just kind of join in and, I don't know, think about how silly it might be that I have tattoos on my body that I forget. So the first tattoo that I normally forget that I have is forgotten on purpose. And before that sounds weird, let me explain. So I have a tattoo right behind my right ankle, kind of on my Achilles heel. That is the Roman numerals for 1937. I got these because it is the year that my grandma was born. And I say that I forget it because I don't like thinking about her birthday or like when she was born, because it puts an age on her, which is something that like I don't like keeping in the front of my mind. And every year she has to call me and be like, isn't it someone's birthday today? And I'm like, I don't know, because I just like to picture her as an ageless being, a deity, a god. And I did get that tattoo. I got it a couple years ago by a girl who also did another tattoo that I'm going to mention. She is no longer a tattoo artist, and the shop that I got it done no longer exists, so it's hard to keep these things in mind. You know, your favorite artists are on Instagram, and you like their photos every day, and you email them, and you correspond with them, and stuff like that. It just kind of adds to my dilemma that she's not a tattoo artist anymore, she's not on social media, and the shop doesn't exist. So yeah, that is my tattoo. It's often covered by socks and shoes, so it's usually just out of my mind, out of sight, out of mind, and not something I always want to think about. So the next tattoo that I usually forget that I have is kind of this like elaborate skeleton riding on a bottle. And the funny thing about this tattoo is I used to work at a streetwear shop on South Street. It was a streetwear BMX art boutique, and it was kind of like this big hodgepodge of all of us together who all like brought separate things to the table. Like I kind of ran the art department with like different spray paints and markers and things like that, and then my other friend there, like he was all about BMX, so he did the bike shop. And then more of our like fashion forward co-workers like ran the front of the boutique, which was like all streetwear clothing. So all of us got along, but all of us brought different things to the table. And one day I was there at work just like minding my own business, and someone told my boss like, hey, it's her birthday today, it's her birthday today. And he was like, why didn't you tell me it was your birthday? And I don't really celebrate my birthday, so I was like, oh, you know, it doesn't really matter. And he was like, what are things you like to celebrate your birthday? And I was like, oh, like I don't like anything, like I don't like anything at all. And he was like, you like tattoos. I was like, no I don't, like pulling down my sleeves. And he was like, I know you like tattoos, I've seen them. So he's like, you have the rest of the day off, get in my car. And I was like, okay. So we drove to a shop, which, again, isn't a shop anymore. So we drove to this shop that, like, later I found out is right down the street from where I live right now. And we drove there, and he was like, you can get any tattoo you want, but I'm getting a phone call, so I have to leave. So he, like, had picked out the artist for me and everything. It was, like, his friend. And his friend had a couple designs, and I was straight edge at the time. And his friend was like, I really want a straight edge person to get this tattoo. I really want a straight edge person to get this tattoo. Like, please get this tattoo. So I was like, yeah. So I got the tattoo, and at the end of it, he was like, "So how are you paying me?" And I was like, "Didn't Phil pay you?" And he was like, "No." So honestly, I never think about that tattoo at all. John and I kind of joke about it all the time because after I got that tattoo, I actually walked to John's house, which was a couple blocks away, and it was my first, like, him and, like, John and I's first interaction with, like, me being, like, tattooed in the flesh almost, because John knew I had tattoos, but he didn't know I was, like, it was the first time I had been healing a tattoo with him. Now it's so commonplace, it's whatever, but then it was like, oh, are you okay? So we joke about that tattoo, but honestly, I never even think about it. There was no planning to it. The artist does not exist anymore. I don't work at that place anymore. So those, again, out of sight, out of mind. So the last tattoo I'm gonna share is actually one of my biggest tattoos that I have, but I often forget all about it, and it is a tattoo on my hip, and I'll tell you the story. So, after high school, like I mentioned before, like all of my friends kind of disbanded, and I wasn't really connected to anybody, and one of my friends back from when I lived in the trailer park went away to the army or the military, something like that. So he had gone away to pursue that, and he had come back a few years later, I think on discharge or whatever. I don't really know the language of the military stuff. But he had come back, and he reached out to a couple of his friends, because I guess he lost touch with a lot of us, and he reached out to me, and I was like, "What's up?" And he was like, "Hey, like, I'm back, and I'm gonna get tattoos for all my friends so I can remember them, and you're invited to come with us." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "I'll pay for it, like, don't worry about it, like, meet me here, blah, blah, blah." So we went to a shop to get consultations, but all of us had different artists, and I picked the girl artist. And I was talking to her about, like, tattoos I kind of seen around, and sugar skulls were really cool then. This was like 7 or 8 years ago, I feel like. And sugar skulls were really cool. So she measured and did everything she needed to do, and she was like, "Cool." So we all drove home. So a week later, we all met back up at the tattoo shop. And he was getting his tattoo, his friend was getting a tattoo, and I was getting mine. And I noticed that they both kind of finished way before me, and I was like, "Show me your tattoo." And he had just gotten like a little quote, and then his other friend had gotten like a small design, and then I was getting this like piece. And I was like, "You guys just got little tattoos?" And he was like, "Yeah, what did you get?" And I was like, "This really big tattoo." So he was like, "I can't pay for that." So I ended up, like, I think we split it because I really didn't have a lot of experience with being tattooed yet back then. So I didn't really know, like, that the tattoo I wanted, like, at the original consultation had to be so big to incorporate all the ideas that I had. And I also didn't know how expensive tattoos were. So I ended up with this pretty large piece. And like I said before, this girl actually doesn't tattoo anymore. And the shop that she used to tattoo out of does not exist anymore. But she liked my tattoo so much that she turned it into her business card. So that's my tattoo. And you can see it, like, doesn't really fit the mold of tattoos that I, like, have right now. But it's funny, I have that video about, like, is the internet stealing your tattoos? And this tattoo was done way before, like, you shared your tattoos on the internet, but way before Instagram, before Facebook. And she had her business cards made with my tattoo on it. And then I went to her shop later to get the first tattoo I mentioned in the video, the Roman numerals. And I was going through her portfolio, and like 3 other people had gotten the same tattoo with different colors. And I was like, "Hey, is that my tattoo?" And she was like, "Yeah, everyone really liked the business card." And I was like, "Alright." So another reason, like, I kind of forget all about that tattoo is because like 3 other people got it. But, you know, when her and I talked about me getting the tattoo, she was like reminding me that it was a little experimental and that she didn't really do stuff like that. And you see the traditional like cute sugar skulls, you see them right now at Target as Halloween decorations. I kind of thought I was getting something like that, and then I ended up with something so scary. So I'll show you. So it's right here on my hip, and you can kind of see it here. It starts back here, and I feel like these stems always look like parts of a car, like a villain's car. And then it extends down to here. And like I mentioned in a previous video, I have some stretch marks that start up here and they go through the tattoo, but I kind of really like it the way it does that. I don't really have any feelings about this tattoo though. It's like pretty large. I actually did have a consultation with an artist about getting it covered up, and then I had spoken to one of my friends recently because I was like, do you remember that thing I have? And I was speaking to one of my friends recently and they were like, hey, you know, if it doesn't bother you, just leave it. It covers your skin. And I was kind of like, yeah, I guess that's the goal. So I did have a consultation to get it covered up, but then I decided that I would just keep it. But yeah, those are my tattoos that I always forget that I have. You may never see them around because I don't often take pictures of them. I don't think about them. Even when I go swimming, I wear a high-waisted bathing suit almost all the time, which always covers that tattoo anyway, and I never think about it. And plus, it's on my left-hand side, which I don't really get tattooed. So again, it is just something I never really think about. But yeah, thanks for tuning into Public Record. Thanks for sharing your ideas with me. Let me know if you have any tattoos that you forget that you have, or you try to forget that you have. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and if you're interested in Public Record, I do have a Public Record playlist that I can include for you if you wanted to watch the entire series. And yeah, love you guys so much, and until next time, bye!